Princeton University, a table in the corner, where 7 young people gathered. They were men and women, white and black, but they didn't have brown skin or yellow skin. Each of the 7 sat there with a notebook in their arms, typing. The blonde youth of one of them had a fierce look in his eyes. This group of bitches raised by a group of bitches who don't know what they are defending, a pedophile, a nigga who wants to become white by bleaching. Think you'll be able to wash your skin with a few songs? Never, are. As he spoke, he looked at the 2 black companions beside him. I'm sorry, Charles. I'm sorry, Elgar. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Michael Jackson's nickel. Charles, a young black man, nodded approvingly. No need to explain, William. We know what you mean. Michael Jackson is a disgrace to black people. Not only did he prostitute himself, but he even wanted to turn himself into a white man by way of skin grafting, and it was better to go back to Africa and believe in voodoo with such a ridiculous means. What a stupid guy. I heard that he never went to school. No wonder he was as stupid as a pig. Elgar, another young black man, pondered. Should we call him another word? His complexion is now white and not white, black and not black, as uncomfortable as being stuck in the middle. I think Michael Jackson should be called Nika. How about that word? Nika, ha ha ha. What a genius, Elgar. This new term is great. Charles laughed and clapped his hands. A female college student suddenly said, that Nikoers is starting to fight back again. Scold back. This old guy still wants to be with Ambi, who will listen to his bad songs. That's right. Eminem is a genius for us white people, beating those in the rap field and telling that white people can also play good rap. Another female college student agreed. As she spoke, she also looked at her black companion beside her. Sorry, Charles. Sorry, Elgar. I didn't mean you. 2 black youths shrugged indifferently. It's nothing, Shirley. We know what you want to say. Eminem's rap is the best in the world. Obviously, these 2 black men have been completely in a state of conversion fanaticism, and there have always been many such people. For example, the Fat Ann of Oprah's talk show. This state was not very obvious when it was on fire, and when the heat decreased, the butt began to become more and more crooked. In a few years, it's not just the butt that is crooked, but the face that moves to the butt and turns into a candle. After a few minutes, Elgar grinned. Look at this Nika's post and ask his supporters to be rational and not quarrel with us. I think he is scared and doesn't dare to argue anymore. Otherwise, it will only attract more people and embarrass himself even more. After a few more minutes, Charles said with the same joy, what an obedient group of dogs. Those guys don't even talk back. They really let us insult. There are such big fools in the world. William snorted coldly. There's nothing strange about it. Have low IQs. How smart can they be if they can come up with a skin-grafted bleached brain? Keep scolding. The more they don't fight back, the more it shows that we have a point, that Jackson's pedophile has a weak heart. As a result, a companion frowned and said, Wait, William. I received an official message from Facebook reminding me of healthy social interactions, and if I detect the spread of racism, terrorism, and other dangerous and insulting remarks, I will be punished. I received it too. And me. And me. This is definitely an official mass issue. Then we won't scold anymore, right? The eyes of several people focused on William, who hesitated. The official announcement was not clear, and he was not sure what it meant. At this moment, 2 black college students patted their chests, feeling that the burning expression in their hearts was about to break through the sky. At this time, you must charge bravely, and only by desperately belittling your outstanding compatriots can you gain the recognition and reward of the old man. William, you wait and see. Charles and I continue to scold and see if there will be sanctions. William nodded. Then increase the intensity and scold a little more ugly. The same time, the Silicon Valley building. Eric continued to stare at MJ's homepage. He was surprised to find that at least a few thousand people were involved in this scolding war, and many of them were also scolding, and the scolding was even worse than the average person. This kind of two-devil behavior is more hateful than that of white people, especially the skin color problem that they scolded. Others didn't know, but Eric knew that it had nothing to do with bleaching and skin grafting. The reason why the skin of Maiko turns from black to white is because of the very severe vitiligo and lupus erythematosus, which causes the melanin in the body to gradually disappear. People with a little common sense should understand what it really meant to do a full body skin graft in the 80s. You may not even be able to get off the operating table and just die on it. Bleaching is even more impossible, as this act directly poisons the skin and body. And MJ later went on a world tour, dancing for hours at a time, and few people in the world can do that kind of exaggerated physical strength. Can he hold up with a poisoned body? Most importantly, Eric clearly remembers that after MJ's death, the FBI conducted an autopsy to investigate the cause of death. The final autopsy report showed that he did have skin problems because of severe vitiligo, and skin grafting and bleaching were purely malicious media hype. Looking coldly at the beam-jumping clowns, Eric said, "Too little. Fits bait." "Okay, boss." In the coffee house, Black college students Charles and Elgar looked at their companions after a few curses. It doesn't seem like anything, there are no sanctions. However, William and a few other white people did not mean to end, but motioned for the two of them to continue. At this time, a lot of MJ supporters suddenly popped up and began to spray back at a very fast typing speed. The few black fans soon became a little unbearable, and the firepower was suppressed. William finally couldn't bear it anymore and waved his hand. "Everyone continues. It seems that it is just an official reminder, and there is no need to take it seriously." In just a few minutes, MJ's homepage returned to its original state of chaos. Crackling, the sound of keyboard tapping came and went, and those who didn't know thought they were studying hard. Suddenly Shirley, a female college student, looked at the computer screen in surprise. "I was forced offline." "No, my account also popped up. And mine. Wait, I'm down too." Suddenly, they seemed to realize that something was wrong, and official sanctions simultaneously came to their minds. "Log in again." William gave the order, and several people re-entered the Facebook login page, but a pop-up window immediately popped up on the screen after entering the account password. "We have detected that you have published and disseminated dangerous remarks with elements such as racial discrimination and murder and terror, and after careful consideration, we have decided to permanently ban your account." Am I mistaken? I just added Thea yesterday. She's my goddess. Maybe I'll have a chance this time. A male student said with a constipated face. "Me too. I just added a girl from the College of New Jersey last night. We talked for a night, and she also sent me sexy pictures, and in a few days, I was able to take it." Another male student also had a look like a fly. "Fuck. I added several men yesterday. We had a good chat, and one of them plans to buy me a bag, but I haven't left my phone number yet. What can I do?" "What is your loss? I have added more than 200 people, all of whom are carefully selected rich and successful people, and they originally planned to do a big job." Listening to the accomplices chirping, William said angrily, "What's the hurry? Isn't there a function to apply for lifting the ban?" After a while, the computer screen was full of failed lifting the ban, and there was no processing time, telling you that it was impossible. "It's okay. It's a big deal to change the mailbox and reapply." Several people immediately reapplied for email and then signed up for Facebook again. "Duong, we have detected that you have published and disseminated dangerous remarks with elements such as racial discrimination and murder and terror, and after careful consideration, we have decided to permanently ban your account." This sentence still pops up on the interface. What's going on? Can't I reapply? Can anyone tell me what's going on? Elgar, the only one of the seven who knew a little about computer technology, looked embarrassed and said with some hesitation, "I think we have probably been blocked." "What do you mean by blocking IP?" asked William with a glare. "It's just that this notebook is no longer usable, and if you want to reapply for an account, you can only succeed if you change a notebook." As soon as these words came out, it was like a big fight in their faces. Laptops are relatively expensive, and a price of a few $1,000s is not something that can be easily afforded. Thinking of this, their mood suddenly turned terrible. Just then, music began to play in the cafe. "There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark." Dynamic prelude and rhythm accompanied by my button's voice, rolling in the deep, reverberates in the cafe. Several customers immediately smiled, shook their legs slightly to the rhythm, and hummed along with CDs in their mouths. The humming gradually became louder, and after a while, almost all the customers began to show their singing voices, regardless of whether they sang well or not. Anyway, the chorus wanted an atmosphere. Only the 7 people left in the corner were like clowns jumping off the beam, and at this moment, they suddenly couldn't figure it out. Isn't this song that good? Doesn't it mean that Jackson's fans are all old guys in their 30s and 40s? But these people in the cafe obviously have a lot of young people who are about their age, and the situation is not right. Is it your own problem? Or is it the world's problem? Let's go. William yelled angrily, slapping the table. As a result, the strength was used too much, and the slamming sound of the table instantly attracted the attention of others. I'm sorry. My mom was hit by a car and died." With a tight heart, William quickly lied with a smile on his face to apologize. Hearing that his mother had been hit and killed, someone quickly opened the door and told them to leave, and the Good Samaritan asked if they needed help. Shit. As they walked away, the 7 regained their faces and began to curse. Seeing a long queue at the video store not far away, Shirley pointed and said, Let's go buy Eminem's CD." Others nodded, crossed the street, and walked to the video store, only to be greeted by the dynamic music that began to attack their brains again. "There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark." The 7 people instantly showed a constipated expression. OMG! Why is it Michael Jackson again? Why is it Michael Jackson everywhere he goes? Why is this endless? William roared angrily. "Fuck you." But as soon as the words fell, a punching bag's big fist had already landed on his face, and a black dude hit him hard on the head with his fist. No. Seeing this, several companions hurriedly helped and kicked the attacking black buddy. But in the blink of an eye, several big men rushed out of the video store, and their fists and feet beat several people like a raging storm. Far away in Silicon Valley, Eric naturally didn't know what was going on. Looking at the restored harmony and a thriving MJ homepage, Eric laughed heartily, but the number of fans who originally clicked on my buckle was partially reduced. "Boss, more than 5,000 accounts have been blocked. All of them are IP blocks, which can be regarded as a lesson for him." Well, if I notice anything that doesn't open my eyes in the future, insults and harasses my friends, all of them will be banned from me, and Facebook will not be worse than a few small deflated 3. Understood. Then you guys, I'm going to be in Los Angeles. Call me in a hurry. Remember what I explained? Fitz nodded earnestly. Okay, boss. On the way to the airport, Eric sends a group text message to his friends in his address book, asking everyone to help promote my buckle's new song. A few minutes after the text message was sent, Facebook was already beating drums and flowers like a baton. Tobey Maguire, I found a good song, Michael Jackson's new song, Rolling in the Deep, and I listened to it all night. James Franco, Toby recommended me a really great song, Rolling in the Deep, that you can try. Kirsten Dunst, McGuire and Franco recommended to me Jackson's new song, Rolling in the Deep, and the melody and lyrics are simply amazing, especially the lyrics. I love it. Nicole Kidman, Rolling in the Deep is the best song I've heard recently, and I love the mood and lyrics of the song. Gal Gadot, I'm not a big of music, but I heard it on set today and I was hooked on it. Rolling in the Deep, you have to listen to it. Johnny Depp, it's a really good song. It reminds me of my days when I first came to Hollywood. Olsen, sister, there's a fire starting in my heart. People are social animals and will subconsciously go for gregariousness. Originally, Eric only chose good friends, and he was embarrassed to ask for help from those who had only met once. However, as more and more people are propagandizing, there are even people he doesn't know at all who are spontaneously propagandizing. In the end, it evolved into whether he was good or not. So many people promoted it, and I couldn't be left behind. Like a trendy movement, if you don't get on the bus, you'll be out. Rolling in the Deep, if you don't listen to you, you'll be out. A plane departs from Silicon Valley and flies towards Los Angeles, and Eric sits on it. As the plane approached Los Angeles, it passed through a small town called Santa Monica. Lionsgate's headquarters were located here, and Eric was still having an affair with Sevi. At this time in Santa Monica, in a villa, Tom Anderson was lying on the bed and sleeping. Yesterday, he slept too late and was busy all night, and he was doing the final checks for his social software MySpace. This social software is his painstaking work. From the idea to the practice, it took more than a year before and after, and it is finally about to be completed. He has already registered the domain name, and in a month at most, the software will be live, and he will create the world's first social networking site. As a super genius, a hacker group was created at the age of 14 and successfully hacked into the Bank of Manhattan, attracting cattlemen hunted by the FBI. He is very confident in the software he has developed, and as long as it is launched in July, it will quickly become popular around the world. The reason why he is so confident is not only because his skills and MySpace are good enough, but also because he is the first person to eat crabs. There are no competitors in the market, and he will eat everything. By the time others want a piece of the pie, it will take at least half a year from developing the software to putting it on the market. But half a year is enough to eat most of the market share into my stomach. When the time comes, who will be their opponent? Nobody. My saps will always be invincible. And he will inevitably become an internet upstart and make a lot of money. A few years later, the Nasdaq went public, and more than a decade later, it occupied the world's social networks and eventually became the top internet giant. Such a beautiful scene. Every time I think of it, I will wake up with a smile in my dream. Hey, hey, hey. Tom Anderson laughed while he was asleep, when suddenly there was a loud knock on the door, as if he was going to tear down his home. He woke up suddenly, got out of bed, and ran to the living room. "Who's knocking? Who's knocking?" shouted Tom Anderson as he got dressed. "Anderson, open the door. Open the door. Something is wrong." "Jarvis? Are you crazy? Are you going to smash this door?" When he opened the door, Tom Anderson looked angry, and his eyes were bloodshot. Jarvis yelled anxiously, "Don't worry about your bad door anymore. Something is wrong. Facebook is coming." "What?" "Facebook is coming." Tom S. Anderson wiped the saliva from his face. "You squirted in my eyes, Jarvis. What the hell are you talking about?" "I'll show you something." Jarvis ran to the computer, opened Facebook, and as soon as the simple interface popped out, Tom Anderson suddenly felt his heart beat wildly, and an extremely bad premonition rushed to his brain. Entering the account password, Jarvis entered his account, gasped, and pointed to the interface. "See? Look at this thing." Tom Anderson couldn't help but take a few steps back, holding his head in his hands and tearing his hair. OMG. No. No. How did this thing come about? Jarvis also sat on the ground like a deflated ball. Although he is not the main developer of my space, he is also a shareholder. Originally, the software was going to be launched in July, and he also had great hopes and fantasized about getting rich overnight, but he didn't expect it to be all over. Yesterday, I went to the school to find Professor Seaver, and I found that the software was being promoted on campus, and after I came into contact with it, I knew that it was too bad. Someone had finished the first social software before us. And this guy was smart, and he chose a flawless outreach program, starting with a college campus, which was much more effective than what we did. Tom Anderson stared at the computer screen with an extremely ugly face, and suddenly, a lightning bolt crossed his mind, as if he had caught something. Jarvis, you said that this software was promoted from the campus, so is the developer a college student? If it's a college student, we can find him and buy Facebook. What insight can a college student have? With the money we used to sell the software, $1 million in front of the other party, I don't think anyone can refuse. Who knew that Jarvis was like a fool himself? What's wrong? What kind of eyes are you? Sighing, Jarvis said, when I first found out, I had the same idea as you, and then I found out that a large number of celebrities have opened accounts in a short period of time, including Johnny Depp, Peter Jackson, Nicolas Cage, Nicole Kidman, too many to count. That's when I realized that this is definitely not something that college students can do, and that the people or companies that developed Facebook definitely have a lot of power. Because compared to campus promotion, it is clear that the celebrity signboard is the real killer feature of the other party. Just yesterday, according to my rough calculations, Facebook got at least more than 500,000 users, and you and I understand what that data means. Hearing this, Tom Anderson was struck by lightning, only to feel that his eyes were dark and the sky was spinning. With 500,000 new users a day, such a terrifying data, unless the other party dies by himself, it will not take long to completely occupy the national market. He couldn't imagine how fast it would be, and maybe before the arrival of July, there would be no soil for my space to survive. Sensing that his situation was not right, Jarvis hurriedly supported the other party and put the person on the sofa. Anderson, I'm rushing to you, just to tell you that we need to plan ahead. What about my space? What about your proposal? Asked Tom Anderson rhetorically. Continue to develop, anyway, it is almost complete, and then go to Silicon Valley to find Facebook. Maybe it is a good choice to sell. At least we can earn back some capital. Smack. With a slap on the forehead, Tom Anderson shook his head. My spa. CE is my brainchild, and I will never allow it to die in such a way. And what do you want? After a moment of silence, Tom Anderson said in a deep voice, we need to find a backer for ourselves, and we can't win against Facebook alone. Microsoft, Apple, Yahoo, Google, or media groups, I'm sure somebody will realize how much the pie is worth. The same time, Harvard University. There is also one person who is in the same state of madness as Tom Anderson, and he is Mark Zuckerberg. Looking at the prototype of the software he designed on his computer, and then at the Facebook page he created, Zuckerberg felt a deep sense of frustration. Bang! With a hard punch to his chest, Zuckerberg's eyes widened in anger. It must be cheating. There are thieves. It's thieves. They stole my mind. No, the thieves must be right next to me. They're spying on me. They're stealing my inspiration. At this time, the roommate pushed the door back. Mark, why are you still in a daze? Why didn't you go to class? Seeing that Zuckerberg didn't react, his roommate walked over and patted him on the shoulder from behind. Mark, what's wrong with you? Why don't you speak? Fuck. Thief. It must be you. You stole everything from me. Zuckerberg suddenly burst out, threw his roommate to the ground, and roared angrily and choked the other party's neck. Are you crazy? It's a pity that his thin little body is not material for a fight at all, and his roommate punches him in his Tyleon hole. Zuckerberg felt dizzy and rolled over and fell to the ground. Bang! Immediately after that, he was kicked in the stomach, and he coughed violently, like a roasted prawn, curling up desperately. Phew! The roommate spat in his face. You madman, I will tell the school about this. You wait to be punished. After saying that, the roommate slammed the door and left, leaving only a lifeless Zuckerberg, lying on the ground like a dead dog, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes. Boss, where are we going? Looking at the diminutive Los Angeles International Airport in the rearview mirror, the driver, Peter, asked. Eric looked down at the time. Let's go to the studio. If you don't take a look, the work will be stopped over there. More than an hour later, the car arrived at the MGM filming base. Coming to Studio 5, Adele's life is here if memory serves. It was 1:30 in the afternoon, and the break had passed, and it was time to start work. Eric walked in, intending to keep a low profile, but as soon as his head was exposed, he heard a staff member shouting, "The director is back." With a loud voice, I don't know if I thought I had found out that I had killed someone. In an instant, the eyes of the audience looked at each other. Eric smiled awkwardly and could only wave his hand to greet everyone. I saw Ashley and Mary with resentful expressions, and next to them was Colorado Savini, who came to make a cameo. Behind the surveillance screen, Andrea and Neil Blomkamp hurriedly got up and walked over. The female director from the United Kingdom sighed as she walked. OMG. Director, you are finally back. It seems that God has finally heard my prayers. Director, if you don't come back, the crew will have to take a vacation in place. Eric smiled. How can it be so exaggerated? I think the scene is very good. Everyone is very involved. Before she could finish speaking, Ashley and Mary were already pouting. I've never seen a director like you. You left the crew and ran away by yourself. Half a month. You disappeared for half a month. Mary complained first. Eric, although I haven't done a big production, The Life of Adele is definitely the weirdest crew I've ever been in. The directors I have worked with in the past have all worked hard to press time and actors, and I can't wait to go up and shoot for the actors in person. You've really opened my eyes, and I know that some directors are crazy, some are patient, and some are grumpy. It's just you. You're the abandonment type. You abandoned the crew. You abandoned me and Mary. Ashley made a vague accusation, and a few words can be said to be hidden mysteries and needles. Others didn't understand, but Sevigny, who understood Eric's nature, had an intriguing look, and his eyes swirled back and forth between Eric and the Olsen sisters. The assistant director is understandably anxious. The actor is in a hurry, and he said that he didn't have a leg. After being criticized by everyone for a while, Eric also learned about the current filming progress. Since sleeping with the Olsen sisters, Ashley and Mary have opened up the second line of Rin, and the filming progress has taken off quickly. Looking at the plan, there are only 12 scenes left, and it is estimated that it will be completed in more than a week. This is a literary film, and it only took more than a month to shoot it, and it is not too much to say that the Blood Mother is fast. Severy, how is the filming of Get Out? I haven't been to the class for so long. Kolosevern shook his head. I don't know. I'm just an actor, responsible for playing my own play. I don't know how director Wenziren arranged the shooting. Is it still a pleasure to work with Wenziren? It's great. Although he is younger than me, he is a director with a lot of ideas, and he has a good personality. He doesn't scold, and our set is very harmonious. That is. What? It's him. Forget it. I don't like to say bad things about others behind my back. Sevigny stopped talking, but he piqued the curiosity of others. Who doesn't like gossip? Eric asked, What are you afraid of? I asked you. I am his boss. He doesn't dare to complain about you. Okay, then I'll just say it. Director Wenziren is very picky, especially picky. Props, plasma, venues, vehicles, he can really save money in an all-round way. No matter what the link is, it is not good if it can be used badly. I really doubt how much money MGM gave him. Director Wenzirin has also made an excellent work like Chainsaw, so he won't give him 1 or 2 million. Eric waved his hand. Of course not. I'm not Granddad. I approved him for $5 million. Sevigny couldn't help frowning. $5 million is not a lot, and if you have money, you still don't spend it, and you still pick the door like this. It's really incomprehensible. Hee, slamming the door but can produce effects. The film and television company's favorite is this kind of director. Of course the capitalists like it, but they just suffer us actors. Stop talking nonsense. Get started. Eric took the microphone, and the crew, which had been slow in progress, instantly turned on the nitrogen acceleration. No one knows better than him what Adele's life wants to be like, and under his direction, Ashley, Mary, and Sevigny begin to play with each other. One is the nominee of the actress, and the other are really Lala, and the latter's abundant emotional explosiveness is not inferior to the former, or even surpassed. Before you know it, a few hours have passed, and the shooting has been going on all afternoon. As the end of work arrived, everyone began to clock in one after another. Eric was thinking about calling Godot, and when he went to her at night, he was already surrounded by the Olsen sisters. "Let's go," said Mary. "What? Come on, you're not going to break your promise again, are you?" Eric slapped his thigh. "But I didn't bring a gift, so it's not appropriate to come to the door like this." "Knowing you're going to make excuses, I bought it," Ashley said. "Invite you to my house for dinner, and I want to help you prepare gifts. You won't refuse, right?" Hee. Telling Peter and Chunxing that they could get off work, Eric got into the Olsen sisters' SUV. Boom! As if for fear that he would regret it, the seat belt didn't have time to be fastened, and Mary had already stepped on the accelerator. Oops. Inertia. Eric's head hit the hard stuff straight on. "What's the hurry? At least let me sit tight before we start." Next to it was a bottle of red wine and a cosmetic box. "That's what you have in store?" "That's right, the wine is for Garnetti, and the box of cosmetics is for little Elizabeth." Eric nodded, didn't say anything, just felt that a 14-year-old girl really didn't need to use cosmetics. Youth is invincible. Isn't the collagen on her face more delicate than cosmetics? A few minutes after the car drove out, Ashley suddenly unbuckled her seat belt in the co-pilot, and one turned around and climbed from between the seats to the back seat. "What are you doing?" asked Eric and Mary at the same time. Ashley didn't care at all, kicked hard, hugged Eric directly with both hands, and took the initiative to kiss with a pair of red lips. "OMG. That's why you let me drive. Ashley, you're so cunning." "Stop," Mary yelled angrily. But at this time, she had already entered the main road, and there were cars in front of her, left and right, and she couldn't stop even if she was angry and anxious. In case of a traffic accident, the Olsen sisters have 2 maids and a husband, and the gossip tabloids are so high and low that they open the eyes of the people of the whole country. "Ashley, stop it." "No, it should be shut up. It's not good." Eric feigned a reserved refusal. Anyway, Mary is still around, and she must show passivity and reluctance. "You see, I wasn't the first to do it. I was just a poor man who didn't resist temptation. Even if you are responsible, you can only account for 10%. However, while shouting to stop, Eric's big hand did not stop, gently roaming over Ashley's body, and from time to time buttoned a little, causing the girl to gasp. "Well, you're such a delicious little cake. I want to swallow you," Ashley whispered in her ear. Hearing this, Eric couldn't help frowning. "Why does it feel strange to say this sentence from your mouth? It seems that I am the older one. Old, but timid. You're a coward." After a taunt, Ashley took the initiative to gnaw on the man's neck, like a female whole sucker in heat. "Well, it's comfortable, but you'd better take it easy. I don't want Garnetti and Elizabeth to see it all strawberries. And Ashley, have you been suppressed for too long? I didn't see that you were such a sassy person before. That's right, you're like a filthy silver slut woman right now, and it makes me feel sick, said Mary, too, as she drove and mended the knife. But instead of hurting her, these words made Ashley more enthusiastic and excited. Say or pull. In the driver's seat, Mary watched everything through the rearview mirror and couldn't help but be angry and anxious. Stop, you're welcome, Ashley. But the more she threatened, the harder her sister ate. Seeing that the threat was ineffective, Mary's brain was hot and pressed the window open button, and the back seat window suddenly slid down. Whoosh! It just so happened that a motorcycle passed by, and through the helmet, Eric saw the other party's puzzled and shocked eyes. Hurriedly closing the window, Eric said angrily, "What are you crazy about? Don't you see what kind of place this is? Your license plate is registered with the reporter. If something really happens, passers-by may not be able to recognize who I am, but they will definitely be able to recognize who you two are, looking for death."
Boom tilde tilde.
Ashley raised her head suddenly, and a strange bubble sound suddenly sounded in the carriage. Eric was originally very serious criticism, and there was nothing left in an instant. After a while, the SUV stopped in the garage, sorted out the clothes, and got out of the car. Eric, you're finally here. Hey, Gannetti. After hugging the woman in front of him who might be his mother-in-law, Eric complimented, "You look younger and younger." Really? Ha 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 ha. Gannetti covered her mouth and laughed happily, and then said very seriously, "I have been doing Pilates, and they say that Pilates works better than yoga." Ha ha ha, then keep exercising. Ashley and Mary still need your guidance and company. Gannetti put on a disgusted expression. The two of them don't. Ashley and Mary have been very independent since childhood, and little Elizabeth is more dependent on me. Now she's too young to drive, and every day I drive her to the set. Do you need to pick her up? It's okay. Elizabeth knew you were coming to the house, and told me to prepare a good dinner table, and she could take someone else's car home. Saying that, Chow 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 arrived. The door was suddenly pushed open, and a young and beautiful figure broke in. It was Ao Mei, who was off work. "Hello, little Elizabeth." Eric greeted with a smile at the sight of him. Eric. Calling her name happily, Elizabeth's eyes lit up instantly. She dropped her bag and ran over, a flutter, hanging on Eric like a kitten. Since going to Neverland, the relationship between the two has grown by leaps and bounds. For this kind of intimate behavior, Godot is used to taking it inappropriately, after all, who would take a 14-year-old girl to heart? Look at the immature little face, the figure that has obviously not grown yet, and a young tooth protrudes. All the bones are cute, and half of the sexiness can't be picked out. Eric held her in a hoop and threw her on the couch, who giggled. "Eric, I'm so glad to see you. Mary said you promised to come 10 days ago. Why did you show up today?" Work. Work can make people involuntarily. Eric said helplessly. Really, you're a big boss. I don't believe anything that can make you helpless. Elizabeth shook her head. Hee. Ordinary people have the helplessness of ordinary people, and big bosses also have the helplessness of big bosses. But the difficulty of the things we are upset about is different. Elizabeth stared at her big eyes with a puzzled expression. What you said is too profound for me to understand. Pinched. The collagen on her face. If you don't understand, don't think hard. When you grow up, you will understand. Rubbing the back of Eric's hand, Ao Mei nodded obediently. Okay, so what have you been busy with lately? Yes, MGM is going to start filming a few TV series, but there is no suitable role for you. Got a new project, said Ashley and Mary, too, looking at them like sharks smelling at it. Don't look at it, it's also not suitable for you. It's a political thriller drama and a horror theme. You two will obediently finish filming Adele's life, and I have arrangements for the follow-up. Eric, what about me? Ao Mei flashed her two big eyes and launched a gaze attack. The filming of A Quiet Place is not finished yet. You have to stay in the crew for at least 2 months, and there is no suitable one. Elizabeth, go wash your hands. We're ready to eat. At this point, Garnetti began to clean up the table with her plates. Okay, Mom. Eric stood up and followed Elizabeth's buttocks. I need to wash it too. The two walked into the bathroom, and Eric suddenly noticed a pair of panties and a corset on top of the washing machine. He glanced at it and was sure in his heart it was definitely not Ashley and Mary's. The size was wrong. It was a little bigger. Although I have only exercised with these two little girls once, I usually see them every day when filming, and the size of the two of them has long been deeply imprinted in Eric's mind. I'll go. It's not going to be Garnetti, spicy eyes. Muttering in his heart, Eric hurriedly lowered his head. Seeing this, Aome hurriedly threw her underwear into the washing machine and explained a little shyly, I'm sorry, I usually wash it myself, but I was in too much of a hurry to go to the set today, and I forgot to leave it here. It's nothing, and I often forget it. Really? Fake, of course. Nasty. A man and 4 women sat at the dining table, looking at a large table full of dishes. Eric was a little surprised. Garnetti, did you make all this? Yes, I love cooking. They smell so good. I can't wait to taste them. Ha 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 ha. You can eat it all. Anyway, our mother and daughter don't have a lot of food. No. Wait a minute, I have something to say. Little Elizabeth raised her hand. Everyone's eyes immediately focused on her. Aome coughed lightly, tried to pretend to be an adult, raised the juice in her hand, and said, First of all, let's congratulate Eric. Congratulations on the box office success of Human Eradication Project. The movie won the championship last week. I read the report, $45 million, higher than The Matrix 2! Yes. The 3 mothers and daughters also raised their glasses. Eric laughed, and everyone bumped into each other. Aome drank the juice and continued, Then there is the second thanks. I want to thank Eric for the role that allowed me to appear on the big screen.
Boom.
Everyone's cups touched again, and Aome sat down contentedly. Okay, I'm done with what I'm going to say. I hope A Quiet Place can also be a big hit like Human Removal Plan. Definitely, A Quiet Place is a relatively new high-concept horror film, and the audience will naturally walk into the cinema when they have a sense of freshness, and I predict that the movie will not grossing any less than $100 million. Eric said. Really? Exclaimed. The Little Girl's Very Little Spy has a global box office of about $140 million, and if A Quiet Place can get $100 million at the box office, fuck, Very Little Spy. The probability is accurate. This is the result of many predictions by our analyst team. Wait for Elizabeth. After the movie is released, there will be a lot of film appointments to find you. Hearing this, Aome's big eyes suddenly bent into crescent moons. What about us? What is Adele's life forecast box office? Asked Ashley and Mary at the same time. The two sisters are often in sync at times, so it's no wonder they both like to sleep with Eric. Eric shook his head. Don't expect too much from literary films. Our goal is to win awards. If we can win a few Oscars, it is estimated that we can rush to the box office of 60 or 70 million. What if you can't get it? If you can't get it, it will be greatly discounted, and 20 or 30 million is the upper limit I gave. So little. The two sisters were immediately deflated. Eric smiled. Don't care about the box office. I didn't plan to make money in the first place. My real purpose is to help your sisters transform and get rid of the label of child stars. Taking off this label is very beneficial for future development, and it is also good for the performance of Double Star Entertainment. Speaking of which, Eric suddenly realized that he had been too busy lately, and he hadn't paid attention to the business status of Double Star Entertainment for almost a month. How is Double Star Entertainment's sales lately? Ashley cut off a small piece of chicken and put it in her mouth. It's good. It's definitely more than last month, and the data will come out in a few days. I'll get you a report. Well, the hottest thing is still the fusion product of the Pink Panther, Mary said excitedly. No, last month it was the Pink Panther. This month it's The Walking Dead. Eric, you should go to the factory and have a look. Half of the production line is now producing The Walking Dead merchandise, especially clothes, shoes, toys, and cost props, and the sales are fantastic. Sales should be up 20% this month, probably more. Didn't you just say that you would make a few more TV series, and if you make another The Walking Dead, we'll make a lot of money? Looking at her excited appearance, Eric thought for a moment and shook his head slightly. The Walking Dead is phenomenal and very unique, and the zombie theme is destined to be universal and can cater to the taste of the public. I'll tell you, don't talk about zombie clothes and shoes. MGM has already received royalties from big-name manufacturers, and Giorgio Armani plans to launch zombie-themed perfumes. There's also zombie beer, zombie games, zombie comics, and in short, zombies seem to go with everything. But other film and television dramas are not good, even if they are more popular than The Walking Dead, but political thrillers like them are inherently not suitable for business. It's so hard to develop another work that is so commercial. MGM is working on an animated film called Frozen, but it's going to be released for more than a year. What about Transformers? I watched the styling video and it's cool, asked Ame. Eric smiled and patted her little head. That's Hasbro. MGM owns the film and digital rights, but the production rights of toys and merchandise always belong to Hasbro. Hiss. As he spoke, Eric's face suddenly changed, and he subconsciously clamped his legs. Eric, what's wrong with you? Asked Aome next to her. Feeling his feet moving at his roots, Eric looked at the two sisters sitting across the table and saw that they were both eating as usual, and for a moment they didn't know who was making trouble. Nothing, it's hot. Then eat slowly. Yes? Eat slowly, and don't be in a hurry, Mary said with a smile. Eric glanced at Garnetti, unconsciously speeding up the frequency of his meals. Daughter-in-law and grandma are dying. Go and see. It's all a change this week. 8:00 in the evening, a thrilling dinner was eaten. Eric wiped his mouth, and Garnetti began to clean up the mess. I sat for a while, and when the people were done cleaning up, I said goodbye and left. After all, it's Olsen's house, and my mother and sister are watching from the side. Even if they are provoked, they can't do anything. It's better to go to Godot or Nico to vent. Sevi can too. I haven't had a relationship with this for a few months. On the set in the afternoon, the chick's eyes couldn't wait to eat herself, and her eyes were extremely drawn. With a phone call by herself, she will definitely be available. Eric, are you full? Garnetti and Ashley were cleaning up. Elizabeth went to get dessert after dinner, and Mary walked over alone and asked with a smile. It's already full, a very tasty dinner. In fact, you can tell Elizabeth that I really can't eat dessert. Hee, you're so full. You should get up and take a walk. I'll show you our childhood photos. How about it? Eric hesitated, and Mary was already holding his hand and running to the second floor. Wait, what's the hurry?
Bang!
The door closed, and Eric had been ushered into her room by Mary. Quick, undress. That's why let's hurry up. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up. But no matter how fast it is, you can't end the fight in 5 minutes, and you're underestimating me. With that, Mary threw him down on the bed, and after a few moments, the two were naked, and the room was filled with an alluring atmosphere. Meanwhile, downstairs, after cleaning up, the mother and daughter strangely find that Eric and Mary are missing. Mom, do you see Eric? Asked Aome with dessert. Ganetti shook her head. No. Maybe in the bathroom. The dessert seems to be a little cold. I'll go warm it up. Okay, Ashley, do you see Eric? Ashley tilted her head and thought, is there something urgent to go? You go and see if the car is still there. Maybe Mary sent him back. No way, he didn't even say goodbye to me. Eric is not an impolite person. Maybe it's urgent, maybe it's too late. You go and see. Okay. Seeing her sister walk out and the living room was left with her alone, Ashley immediately rushed to the second floor, her instinct telling her that something unsightly must be happening. Going up to the second floor, she slowed down and quietly walked to Mary's room. Then he put his ear to the door, his eyes narrowed slightly, and listened very carefully. FXXX. It is so big. Ashley's eyes widened suddenly. These two guys, sure enough, are behind my back. A nameless fire broke out in her heart, and Ashley pushed the door to enter, only to find that the door was locked. It's strange to do this kind of thing, and it's not anti-locked. Wanting to bang on the door but worrying about being heard by her mother and Elizabeth downstairs, Ashley only felt aggrieved. Seeing you messing around in front of your eyes, I even have to cover it up for you. What is this called? I took out my mobile phone to make a call, but no one answered, and there was no movement in the house. Pretend to be with me. Just as he was about to kill the chain, he heard a click, and the door suddenly opened. Ashley exclaimed, already grabbed by a strong arm and dragged into the room. When I came into view, I saw two pubic bodies hugging each other, Mary's arms around Eric's, and her legs hanging from his waist. You guys. As soon as she opened her mouth, before she could finish a sentence, Eric had already pushed her down on the bed. Mary, come on. Mary obediently put down her legs, turned around and pressed Ashley. Under the concerted efforts of the two, Ashley, who didn't have much to resist, was quickly stripped clean and slippery. Looking at the two snow-white frozen bodies in front of him, Eric didn't bother to care about what would happen. As a young man, a week of retreat had already filled his fire. Now it has been provoked, and it is already in a state of preparing to draw a bow. The three of them were immediately entangled. Downstairs, Garnetti walked out with a reworked dessert. Baby, haven't you found Eric yet? Aome said strangely, not only is Eric gone, but Ashley and Mary are also gone. Have you looked for it all downstairs? Yes. Then go upstairs and have a look. Maybe they're visiting upstairs, maybe it's in your room. Nodding, Aome also walked up to the second floor and just stepped into the corridor. Before she started to look for it, she faintly heard unusual movements. The volume is small, but if you listen carefully, you can still hear what kind of sound it is. As a 14-year-old teenager, American schools and families are fully educated, and Aome knows very well what this cry means. At the moment, there are only 5 people in the family, and my mother is downstairs. What does the voice I hear represent? So I need to say, no, it won't. Talking to herself. In disbelief, Elizabeth couldn't help but lean closer to the door panel and also put her ear to it and listened carefully, as Ashley did. And the groaning Silver clearly told her what happened inside Love is exactly what she thinks in her head. In an instant, a thunderbolt fell on Elizabeth's head like a thunderbolt from the sky, slashing the young Aome into a daze. At the age of 14, she knew very well what Eric was doing with her sister. In fact, she had a hunch that her sister must have something to do with Eric. But she was shocked as to why Ashley and Mary were doing it together with Eric. Right? That's right. Children with a little common sense know that it's not right. 2 maids and a husband, or sisters at the same time. What kind of joke is it? It just shocks people's jaws. For a moment, Aome only felt that her brain was in chaos, and she didn't know what to do, so she stood at the door in a daze, blushing unconsciously. Suddenly, I heard 2 suppressed and sharp screams, and Aome couldn't help but follow a spirit. The chopsticks felt straight to the sky, and the feeling of heat also filled the next question. The strength of her whole body was hollowed out, and she sat on the ground with her buttocks, and Elizabeth gasped rapidly. After a while, she heard the sound of rustling in the room, and Aome knew that they were getting dressed. She hurriedly got up from the floor and walked quickly downstairs. After a short time, the three of them came down from the second floor. Mary pretended, "I think I was a little cuter than Ashley when I was a kid. I had tiger teeth." Ashley snorted, "But I'm taller, and now you're 2 centimeters lower than me." "You've been upstairs all the time?" asked Garnetti curiously. "Yes, we showed Eric pictures of his childhood." "Then, why didn't Elizabeth find you?" "What?" "Elizabeth just went up to look for you and said she didn't find it. Is it big upstairs?" Aome's face turned red, and she hurriedly changed the topic. "It's me who was too careless. Hurry up and try the dessert, Eric. I have a credit for it." Desire subsided, and Eric couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, and looked at Elizabeth carefully, wondering if this little girl had discovered something. And when he saw it, Aome's face instantly turned even redder. "OMG. Elizabeth must have found us around in the room." With this in mind, Eric hurriedly picked up a small snack and stuffed it into his mouth, and hurriedly swallowed it in a few bites. Immediately gave a thumbs up. "Great, it tastes great. But it seems like it's time for me to go. It's not too early." Ganetti looked at the clock hanging on the wall. "It's still early for you young people. Let's play a little longer." "No, thank you, Garnetti. My mother is a very devout Catholic, and she always teaches us to follow the rules, so I usually don't come home too late in the evening." Hearing Eric's excuse, Ashley and Mary couldn't help but roll their eyes in their hearts. "Listen to what you are talking about, and make up a decent reason to make up." Garnetti smiled. "Eric, your tutoring is really strict, but I think it is precisely because of the strict tutoring that you can practice a young man as good as you. Look at the kids out there. Now they're getting younger and younger with alcoholism, drugs, violence, and messing around, and I often tell their sisters to stay away from those rotten people. You're the right friend, handsome, talented, and righteous. You should come to the house more often. Elizabeth will be very happy." "Yes? Elizabeth." Aome blushed and nodded. Ganetti laughed. "Why are you shy? I haven't seen you shy before." Aome's mind came up with the voice just now, and then it became a picture of herself and Eric in the bathroom, and her underwear was exposed to his eyes nakedly, as if she was also exposed in front of his eyes. Seeing Aome's embarrassed appearance, Eric hurriedly said, "Then I'll leave first. Come back another day and let Ashley send you." "No, my driver is here." After saying goodbye to the mother and daughter, Eric left the Olsen house. He couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Obviously, he was a simple guest, which was even more exciting than being a thief. He found that the Olsen sisters were in a strange state, and they usually seemed to look at each other unpleasantly and often had conflicts with them over their mating rights. But once the two are like a game, one bolder than the other. That is, today is short of time, and Garnetti and little Elizabeth are eyeing each other, and will bring Ashley and Mary to the house they bought another day. If you don't do it upside down, all your thoughts are clear, and you won't give up. Why did you write 3 words? The precise point should be all the same. Call Elena together in the future. All of them. Boss, where are you going? Grant Street. Godot. As a sturdy young man, of course he has to continue to eat if he is not full. In the streets at night, there were many fewer cars, and soon I arrived at Godot's apartment. Peter was sent away, and Eric went upstairs alone. Knock knock. Who's there? It's me, Eric Cooper. Open the door. Few seconds later, the door opened, and Godot asked with some surprise, "Eric, didn't you say that you couldn't get over something?" Regardless of Judy and Balafali next to him, Eric hugging each other is a French kiss. "I'm done, so I want to come over and spend time with my baby." "You're so sweet." Godot laughed happily. Looking Eric up and down, Godot pulled him to his room and picked out a set of shorts and a t-shirt for him. "Take off your clothes. You're still wearing trousers, aren't you hot?" "It's a little hot, but it's not appropriate to wear shorts on formal occasions." Eric said helplessly. As he spoke, he changed into clothes. The right size. You really look more and more like a little housewoman. It's your little lady of the house, Eric. Two kissed fiercely again. Sensing that little Eric was already looking up, Godot patted it gently. I'll feed you, little guy, later. Go. I still have to watch The Walking Dead. Back in the living room, HBO is playing a replay of The Walking Dead, in which Maggie, played by Barl Leffley, is fighting the zombies with Glenn, played by Wu Yenzu. How many episodes is this? Is Maggie already on the scene? Judy glanced at him. Don't you even watch your company's signature show? It's the 8th episode, and Rafali has appeared in 3 episodes. Eric looked at Balafali. How do you feel? It's great. Since Maggie showed up, I've been walking down the street, and people have recognized me and asked me for autographs, which is a great feeling. Eric, you once told me that Maggie is a charismatic character, and I have to thank you for giving me this role. Now that the Walking Dead characters are ranked online, Maggie's audience popularity has rushed into the top 5. Who's up ahead? Daryl must be in the queue. Eric asked curiously. That's right. Daryl is number 1, Rick is number 2, Glenn is number 3, and I am number 4. Leffley said excitedly. By the way, Eric, I also opened a Facebook account, and in just 2 days, I had more than 40,000 followers, and it all felt like a dream. Eric looked at Godot. Honey, how many fans are you? Godot shook his head a little frustratedly. I'm not as good as Leffley, not even 20,000 fans. Eric took her in his arms. Poor baby, it's because of your work. Has not been released yet, and when Happy Death Day is released, it will attract a wave of fans for you, and when Transformers is released, you will become an idol all over the world. Godot gave a few pecks to Eric's face. Leffley was a little envious. Eric, is there a play that suits me? Judy also asked. Recently, a few crews have found Leffley, but they are all small supporting roles, far worse than Maggie. Acting in that kind of play is a waste of time. Does the company have a suitable project now? Eric thought for a while. There is a Hangover in the movie, an adult comedy, but it is from a man's main perspective, and there should be female characters. But it is also a supporting role with few scenes. It's a small supporting role. Is there a main character? Or an important supporting role? Leffley didn't want to play Little Kalami. He wasn't a fart before. But now that he has a certain fame, isn't he stronger than Godot? The heroine may be extravagant, so it's not too much to give me an important supporting role. After thinking about it for a while, Eric shook his head slightly. There are really no important movie roles, but MGM is about to open a TV series, and there is a female reporter in it. You can try it. Is it the heroine? No, the heroine requires an actress around 40 years old. You're not suitable, but this role is very important. It is a supporting role with more scenes. Just like Maggie, it will be remembered. Hearing this, a trace of disappointment flashed in his eyes, and Leffley sighed faintly. Looking at the two of Un, Balafali felt a little irritable and a little envious in her heart. She still couldn't figure out what she was worse than Godot. In terms of appearance, he does not lose to Gal Gadot. In terms of figure, he is even better. In terms of fame, he is now stronger than Godot. Why Eric Cooper just doesn't give himself a good role and doesn't let himself play the heroine. It's just that Leffley doesn't know that ordinary actors can get high-quality roles like Maggie who are destined to be popular when they debut, and they already belong to the ancestral tomb with green smoke. How many people have been stumbling for a lifetime, and in the end they are still stumbling? And her insatiable personality is actually the reason why Eric doesn't like it. It's a new day, and the movie theater is full of gunsmoke. Under the impact of Finding Nemo, other movies are trembling. I'm afraid everyone didn't expect that they would be pressed to the ground by a clownfish and rubbed. Disney seems to have finally found the right way after 2 consecutive blows in Cinderella and Silver Island. This Mickey Mouse, it's on its edge again. Entering June, it is already the fourth week of The Matrix 2, and the savior can't save the box office, and the decline will still fall. Now, the single-day box office of The Matrix 2 has only left the level of $4 or $5 million. In just 1 month, it has already sent its North American box office to $230 million, including $91 million in the first week. The final forecast given by analysts was around $250 million, compared to the original forecast of about $280 million. But Human Eradication Project, which no one paid attention to, suddenly rose to prominence, taking $45 million in a week, resulting in The Matrix 2 not retaining the box office title in the third week. However, for blockbusters of this level, the overseas box office is the main event. Now, the overseas box office of The Matrix 2 has reached $260 million, surpassing North America, and the analyst's forecast is $450 million, and there is no problem with breaking $700 million worldwide. $700 million is a very key red line, and breaking $700 million is already a rare blockbuster movie of the year. Human Eradication Project was also suppressed by Nemo the Clownfish, but the single-day box office was slightly higher than that of The Matrix 2. Overseas, several European countries such as the United Kingdom, Germany, and Italy have already been released, and France, Denmark, Sweden, and Australia will be released next week. Asia is still the last to be released. Xinjiang and Wanwan belong to the third batch, and Eric of the Chinese mainland still decided not to release it after considering it. With MGM's current favors and investment in the mainland, with the endorsement of Lao Han and director Wang, there will be no pressure to introduce it. Even if it is like Titanic back then, it can be done without deletion, but it is bound to take advantage of favors and say good things. But interpersonal relationships will only be used less and less, rather than wasting human favors on small characters like Human Eradication Project. It's better to wait for Transformers to come at the end of the year and let optoelectronics give itself the green light and come to an uncut version. When Bang Bang's Change 1 was released in the mainland, it actually deleted a few minutes of scenes. The reason is that it is too violent. Eric really doesn't understand, and it makes sense that robots kill humans as violence. The two of them were fighting, dropping a few parts and being violent, like a little boy who hadn't smashed a few toys when he was a child. This time Eric's version filmed, the war scene is more grandiose, and there will be more deaths. And if you don't find Lao Han and them to have a drink at that time, I'm afraid that the photoelectric level will not be easy, and the 10-minute scene will be deleted, which is not conducive to selling peripherals. Rolling in the Deep has jumped to number 31 on the Billboard, and this time the button has changed its style to cater more to younger listeners. In addition, the stars on Facebook are working hard to help him promote, and the song is about to enter the top 30 in 2 days. Nowadays, you can hear the singing of My Buckle everywhere on the street and on the radio, and it is expected that after today's CD sales are released, it will not be a problem to enter the top 20. On the other hand, the ruffian Eminem, the more prosperous My Buckle is, the greater the backlash for him. He was supposed to be number 5 on the Billboard, and it stands to reason that he should have continued to push forward, but the reality is that he has dropped 3 spots to number 8. Perhaps sensing the crisis, this little hooligan has also frequently appeared on major radio stations and interviews in the past 2 days, playing songs for himself. Facebook is also calling friends, but since his debut, this guy has hardly been scolding. From the President of the United States, down to his parents and wife, and from his peers, he scolded him all over. In the end, the only rappers willing to speak for him were a few rappers, but at the same time, there were many rappers on MJ's side. Facebook's new users have soared by 1 million again, and it is like a fire, burning more and more. According to this trend, attracting 20 million users a month is not a dream. On the set of Adele's Life, everyone clocked in to work one after another. Chun Xing and production director Hu Liu waited beside him, and Eric crossed his legs and flipped through the project report in his hand. The preparations for The Hangover are basically completed, and it's time to start. The director chose Todd Phillips, a comedy director in his 30s, young but already accomplished. Filmed Holla on the Road and Single Men's Club, both comedies with good ratings. Single Men's Club was released in February this year and won nearly $90 million at the box office, making a fortune for DreamWorks. Not long ago, after MGM announced his production plans, Spielberg recommended him. Boss, Phillips is a very good genre film director. For The Hangover, he turned down Warner Brothers' film offer, and Warner's investment is even bigger. Really? Said Eric, a little surprised. Julio nodded confidently. Obviously, the script of The Hangover is more attractive to him. I heard that Warner's Police Double, with an investment of $60 million, is a part of The Hangover. Yes, he is a man of vision, and in the future he will know that The Hangover will be much better than The Police Giant. After looking at the three most important male protagonists, the handsome teacher Phil Winnecker gave the little fat man Alan Garner was won by Jack Black, and his more well-known roles for Chinese audiences include Pa in Kung Fu Panda, Gulliver in Gulliver's Travels, etc. Belongs to the kind of actor who can't be named, but his face is familiar when he sees it. The hapless dentist Stuapples invited a big coffee, or the big coffee of the future, Adam Sandler, who is not yet on fire. This name is familiar to fans around the world, and there is really no need to introduce it. The current Adam Sandler has a lot of popularity in the film industry, although he has not completely become popular, but he is also the #1 person in the comedy industry. It's just that most of his works are romantic comedies, and one of the reasons for taking on this role this time is to break through and try vulgar comedy of pee and fart. Adam Sandler is looking for the film that will make him really popular. His salary is also the most expensive in the whole crew, just like comedians tend to be more expensive than other types of film actors. One person took $5.5 million, which is a bit expensive, but it is still worth it for this team without the blessing of big stars. Ryan Reynolds' salary is $700,000. The gap is so big, although Sharknado has accumulated some fame for him, but at least before the release of Transformers, his salary is not high. Jack Blake's salary is $1 million, which is a bit higher than the little one. At this point, the Hangover trio has been formed, which is completely different from the original, and all three actors have changed, but it is obviously changed for the better. After reading it, Eric nodded in agreement. Yes, it's good. The actors are very good. I really didn't expect you to find Adam Sandler. If you look at it this way, the budget of $30 million may be a little lower. Change it to $35 million, and I don't want the shooting effect to be up to standard because of the budget. Saying that, Eric signed his name on the report, and Julio could take it to approve the money, and the film officially started. Sending him away, Eric turned his gaze back to the scene. After last night's nourishment, although the Olsen sisters have not eaten enough, their resentment has dissipated, and the eyes that look at Eric are much kinder. The shooting went smoothly, and before I knew it, I had been working for half a day. Lunch was eaten, and there was a 1-hour break in between, as usual. Eric left Studio 4 and walked to Studio 6 not far away, where The Witch was stationed today and was filmed in Studio 6. When I came to the studio, I saw Patty Jenkins holding an apple from a distance, nibbling and staring at the monitor screen. The two haven't seen each other for more than a month, and the last time they asked themselves to approve money, Eric was in retreat to catch up with the script of House of Cards, and he made a decision directly on the phone. Hi Patty, long time no see. Hearing the familiar voice, Patty Jenkins looked up, opened her arms and hugged Eric. Eric, why are you here? Listen to what you're talking about. I'm filming in Studio 4, don't you know? But isn't Transformers finished? Eric frowned speechlessly. How can we say that we also work together? I also gave you $8 million, and you are half of MGM's own family, and you don't care about what happens at home. Of course, Transformers didn't have a reshoot. I started another project, and I wanted you to continue as an assistant director, but now the opportunity is given to someone else.
Patty.
Jenkins was a little curious. What about Transformers? All that's left is the post-production special effects and soundtrack. What? Is the editing done? But she immediately reacted. Oh, I'm almost confused. You're not an ordinary director. Your shooting is rushing to the finished film, and the editing is naturally fast. Yes, it was cut in less than a week. Eric smiled and held out a finger. Patty Jenkins shook his head. I worked with you, and I felt that I was also affected, and I unconsciously used your shooting mode. It's the kind of thing that first constructs a complete plot in your mind, and then divides the picture into shots one by one, and shoots it in one go. Saying that, she took out a thick script. Show you, this is my preparation. With this script, which is several hundred pages in hand, Eric flipped through it and found that most of it was storyboards. He couldn't help laughing. It seems that you have mastered the essence, Patty. In fact, this kind of shooting technique is used by many directors: Chris Columbus in the United States, Zhang Yimou in Huaxia, Bong Joon-ho in South Korea, etc. Hey, what are you talking about? Can I join in? Not far away, the door of the dressing room opened, and a woman with a fleshy face and a fierce look walked in. She was sloppily dressed, had a vulgar voice, and even had no eyebrows on her eyes, highlighting a bad and intimidating one. But Eric knew very well that this was just the result of makeup technology, and when the makeup was washed away, she would become the most beautiful South African diamond. Even in Hollywood, where there are so many beautiful women, she is also the one who stands at the top of her appearance. Not only today, but it is still glamorous 20 years later. Charlize Theron, you Emperor Dysip. Mandela called her the one who really made the name of South Africa a name on the map. Stephen Hawking commented on her, even in the infinite parallel universe, you can't make an appointment with Charlize Theron. Hello, Theron. Eric offered to reach out. Theron pointed to his face and looked at Eric in surprise. Isn't it? Do you still recognize the honor I have now? Of course, you're Charlize Theron, the dream of countless men. Ha 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 ha, Mr. Cooper, you're really good at talking. First meeting, Charlize Theron. The hands of the two briefly intertwined, and although the makeup made her face look fierce, the skin on her hands was still soft as silk. Theron, how did you come to accept that you are the way you are now? Won't you have nightmares? Of course, I don't even dare to look in the mirror after putting on makeup. I will doubt myself. Where did Charlize Theron go? Then why do you still take this play? Seeing the way you are now, this sacrifice is indeed a bit big. Theron looked at Patty Jenkins. On the one hand, I like a challenge, and this character is complex and profound, and on the other hand, the director keeps harassing me and convincing me that I can handle this role. Maybe she poured me ecstasy, and I was convinced. Three of them laughed together. Eric said, the devil will definitely not make you regret it. I have a hunch that you will win the Oscar for this role. Really? Theron's eyes widened in surprise. Then he waved his hand. Impossible. Although playing ugly will win the favor of the Academy, but since my debut, let alone the Oscar, I haven't even won a union nomination. They don't like me. No, trust me, you're going to win the Oscar. I'm not talking about nominations. I'm going to win awards. Eric said with great certainty. Seeing that his demeanor was so solemn, not like a joke, the two girls were a little surprised. Because everyone knows that if you want to win several Oscar awards, it is impossible without public relations. There is more than one good work every year, and there are many excellent actors. One-sided crushing is very rare, and as long as you are nominated, it means that you are strong. So, when everyone is indistinguishable, how can we ensure that we win the award? Naturally, We spend money on public relations. It's normal to throw out tens of millions of dollars in order to win a grand prize, and Weinstein knows this best. And once Eric is sure that the Devulus will win the award, he will inevitably pay a lot of public relations fees, which are all real dollars, which are more expensive than the cost of film production. Theron also said solemnly, "Mr. Cooper, since you said so, it seems that I must do my best."
Patty
Also said, "Then I have to keep improving, boss. If the $8 million is spent, can I add more?" Eric smiled and replied in Patty Jenkins' expectant eyes, "Think beautiful,